Tennessee. Key facts. Abbreviation TN. Nickname the Volunteer State. Capital Nashville. Flower iris. Tree tulip-tree. Bird mockingbird. Motto agriculture and commerce. Agriculture and commerce? That's the motto when they can boast Johnny Cash, Tina Turner, Bessie Smith, W.C., the father of the blues, Handy, Dolly Parton, Aretha Franklin, Carl Perkins, and Elvis Aaron Presley? Well, I dare say the state government up at Nashville knows best. That seems a little greedy for a motto, though. Memphis is the biggest city in Tennessee and is of course home for Graceland, one of America's most popular tourist attractions. Indeed, after the White House, the second most visited residence in America. The capital Nashville, with its legendary music hall, the Grand Ole Opry, styles itself the home of country music. But I'm headed to the mountains of Tennessee to fulfill a lifelong ambition and hear another kind of American music. I want to hear the Appalachian Mountain Men play. Bluegrass. My passion for bluegrass, a loose but good enough name for the style of music I'm in pursuit of, began when I fell in love with Lester Flatt's and Earl Scruggs's theme tune for the American 60s sitcom The Beverly Hillbillies. I only dimly remember that show as a child, but years later I bought an album featuring Flatt and Scruggs, who had gone to form the Foggy Mountain Boys. On that album, Ace Banter Packer Scruggs performed his immortal Foggy Mountain breakdown, and I was hooked for life. Sometime after that, I went to the cinema and saw John Boorman's Deliverance, one of 4 or 5 films that completely changed the way I looked at everything, at cinema, people, myself, the world. It has a great moment. No, not that I'm gonna make you squeal like a pig scene. Another, known as the Dueling Banjos, in which Ronnie Cox, playing a guitar as it happens, faces off against a rather inbred-looking youth, who turns out to play the meanest, fastest banjo in the South. I know that countrymen and women, real musical bluegrass players and dancers, live in the hills above Townsend, Tennessee, and I've been told that some of them meet once a week in an abandoned schoolhouse they have taken over as a venue for their music making. They don't perform to a ticket-buying crowd, but for their own pleasure. But visitors are welcome. I arrive at the Rocky Branch Club at 9 in the evening, and the place is kicking. What was once a school corridor lined with lockers and maps of our state is now filled with people who, well, it has to be said, they really do resemble the most outrageously old-fashioned casting agency's idea of hillbillies. There are men with long beards that you feel must be called Zeke, the man that is not the beards, who dance in clogs or with heavy taps on their shoes, swaying to the music. In patched dungarees, there are youths with long necks, enormous Adam's apples, and splayed-out teeth. And I see women with no teeth at all who look as if they had 7 children before they were 20. From each room of the corridor, each quantum classroom, there issues a sound. And what a sound! For an hour and a half I wandered from room to room, dizzy with delight. This is what I had come for: authentic hillbilly music and dancing, performed simply for the pleasure of it. The music is made by string instruments only. It derives, and my word, you can hear it in the 5-note plaintiveness of the melodies from Celtic folk music, the jigs and reels of Scotland and Ireland. Guitar, bass, mandolin, fiddle, and banjo. There you have your basic bluegrass combo. All the percussion comes from hard-driving strums, plucks, picks, slaps, and scrapes. I find a boy called Jack, whom I'm spotted hammering brilliantly at the piano on his own. Now he's playing the guitar. I marvel at the outrageous virtuosity and arrogant strut with which he plays. The moment he stops, he becomes a model of southern politeness and down-home humility. How many instruments do you play? I play the guitar, sir. I play the banjo. I play the mandolin. I play the piano. Just not the fiddle, sir. I don't like fiddle. Help yourself, sir. The help yourself refers to a pot of something moist, black and rank, which he has pushed under my nose. That's tobacco, sir. Don't you like it? I gave up smoking, I'm afraid. That I ain't smoking tobacco, sir. That's for chewing. He pinches out a fat wad, which he plugs into his cheek. How old are you, Jack? 17 years old, sir. And how long have you been chewing tobacco? Well, sir, he lets a long line of drool fall into a tin, pinching off the string with a pop. Ever since I was 4 years old, my grandma taught me how. The crew tells me later that he was winding me up, but I'm not so sure. In another room I find Jay, a great banjo picker who, despite looking a little less rural than the beard crew-cut Jack, is actually a warden in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. With him is Stephen, a fiddler who plays with a group that includes a garage mechanic and a retired professor from the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. I play three-finger, says Jay. I can do clawhammer. Never mind, I say, having no idea what he's talking about. How about we play Foggy Mountain Breakdown? And they do. They play without pretension or theory or any self-conscious sense of heritage. They play because they belong to the music, that they have grown from these woods and hills, and they play like dogs who are utterly intimate with their own parts, because they can. Ducks. I want to go further into the woods, through the Smoky Mountain and into North Carolina with lies on the other side, but first I make a detour to Memphis. I am drawn by the lure of ducks. No establishment in all the South is more proud of its traditions of graceful hospitality and old-world courtesy than the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, whose lobby is said to be where the Delta ends, or begins depending on which way you are traveling. A handful of fine ducks live on the hotel roof. Every morning they are escorted by the duck master, a permanent Peabody staff appointment, to the elevator. A crowd will have gathered downstairs ready for them at exactly 11 a.m. as the opening bars of John Philip Sousa's King Cotton roll majestically from the hotel's PA system. The elevator doors open and the ducks waddle grandly along the red carpet to the lobby's marble fountain, where they will remain romping until 5 p.m., when a similar ceremony in reverse sees them march out to the elevator to be taken back up to their rooftop roost. I am given the supreme honor of being officially appointed an assistant duck master for today's ceremony. A certificate and salute topped in the shape of a duck naturally cane are handed to me as proof of this distinction. I join Oprah Winfrey, Kevin Bacon, Queen Noor of Jordan, and a few distinguished others in being so honored. My duties involved helping the duckmaster chivvy the ducks out of their penthouse and along the roof space towards the elevator. Fortunately, there is someone else to wipe out the duck poo left in the corner of the lift. Duck poo, unpleasant as it is, has great appeal when compared with what awaits me further north in the city of Knoxville. Cadavers. Knoxville, after Memphis and Nashville, the third biggest city in the state, is home to the University of Tennessee. There is an academic there that I'm anxious not to meet. I'm sure she is very nice, but I'm having second thoughts about witnessing her work. I arrive at the campus and drive as instructed to a deserted parking lot. I see a grey Honda Civic in one corner. I park my taxi alongside it. A woman gets out of the Civic and comes forward to shake my hand. She leads me to a pair of razor-wide chain-linked padlocked gates that stand at the edge of the lot. The gates forbid entry but give no clue as to what might lie within. There is only one sign and it says "Private." Rebecca takes out a set of keys, opens the gates, and leads me to a garden. While Rebecca locks the gates behind her, I look around, not letting my eyes settle for too long on any one feature. I am standing in a garden. There are trees, a small hut, flower beds, vegetable patches, and a path that leads up a hill to a copse of all spinning. Here Rebecca hands me latex gloves for my hands and for my feet covers made of thick woven paper. As I put them on, I become aware of something unspeakable weaving its way into my body through my nose. It's a minute trace of something so evil that even a tiny quantity like this fills me with dread. This way, says Rebecca. I step forward for my tour of the body farm. In 1971, Dr. William M. Bass of the University of Tennessee Department of Forensic Anthropology thought that what his department needed was a way of finding out more definitively how human bodies decomposed, and so he founded this facility. Donated corpses of all kinds are brought here to decompose and to have that decomposition monitored and calibrated. Rebecca strides up to a black plastic sheet under a tree and pulls it back. "You see the larvae and flies here?" she says enthusiastically. "Dear God! Oh my, but that's..." I try and stay professional, whatever that means when you find yourself face to rotted face with human remains that writhe, seethe, and hum with thousands of flying insects, bugs, and maggots. You can pinpoint time of death with astonishing accuracy using insects, coos Rebecca, gazing down with affection. Different species of fly and bug lay eggs and hatch in human cadavers at different times. You can be accurate almost to the hour. Like on that TV program CSI. Quite. But there are other variables that police and forensics labs need. What happens when a body is left in a trash can, for instance? Come along. Rebecca escorts me to another corner of the garden and leaves the lid of a dustbin. In a sealed space like this, what you get is... I look down at a brown pool of sludge with a few bones sticking out. Liquefaction. Just behind the awful sight comes the awful smell in full force. It literally makes me jump backwards. I have, in all my 50 years of this planet, never seen a dead body before. Within the space of 5 minutes, Rebecca has shown me more than 20, some in such appalling states of suppurating decomposition that is all I can do that not to vomit now at the memory. But it is that smell, that wrenching, clenching, suffocating stench that will never, never leave. Once inhaled, never forgotten. "There is so much we have to know," says Rebecca. "What happens to a corpse in cool climates, in a car trunk, or hot climates, under a table in a house, under this kind of soil or that kind of soil? What happens when it is burned or dunked in acid? We find out." What makes someone decide to do a job like... Well, you mentioned the CSI shows. We get thousands more applicants a year on account of CSI. Most of them skedaddle once they discover that they works. Not quite the same as on TV, but those who stay love it. We hear from the police of a murderer who is caught because of our evidence or our data. That's a moment, a real moment, and we care for these remains. I will certainly leave my body to this facility. You will? Oh yes. Now this cadaver is interesting. She died in a car wreck. Know the smashed right cheekbone. For all my age and experience, there had still been some sweet, small, shy flower of innocence inside me when I arrived at the body farm. By the time I leave, it has gone forever. I am more than ready to head for the clean air of the North Carolina mountains.